Our listening passage about the moving company, this conversation, has 6 questions to begin. Let's take a look at these short answer questions. Now, as you probably noticed, this passage is a little bit simpler than others. This would be a good example of a listening passage from section 1 of the IELTS exam. Usually the topics are easier, the answers are easier, and so hopefully you caught them here. But let's take a look at these first. Notice on for number 1, for example, you know that you're going to be listening for a number. Okay, the second one, you know you're going to be listening for an address. All right. The third is distance, and the fourth is the number of bedrooms, the apartment size. You can guess. So on these types of questions, especially these first questions from the listening section at the beginning of the test, there should be a lot of clues there for you to let you know exactly what to listen for. Okay, so let's take a look at these first 4 to begin and get the answers for those. First of all, number 1. So number 1, you know that you're simply listening for a number. Now, this is a complicated, long number, and it includes several letters. So the skill is simply listening for all of those numbers and letters together to see if you can catch them all. This is the place in the discussion where we get those letters.
Yes, I did. I can give it to you. AD5659837JC6.
Okay, so to get this question correct, you simply need to copy those correctly. She speaks quickly, not only here, but in other parts of the passage, so that does present some challenges, but hopefully you got that answer fairly easily. Number 2 then, we're looking for a destination, this location. It's a street address that we have to listen for. Now they mentioned the name of the street a few times, so that helps you, although one of the times, as I'm sure you caught, there was a sort of mispronunciation, missing the middle S in this word. So the answer is Scottsville, and here's where we get that in the passage.
Sure. We're headed to 798 Scottsville Street in Grand City.
Okay, now this is something the IELTS will like to do. That middle S sound is one that could be difficult to hear. And so that's why in this first section here, we repeated it. It was repeated a few times. In later sections of the test with short answer questions, they may not repeat that kind of word for you again, and you would have to be able to hear that middle sound. But since this is a section 1 type of passage, they would repeat that for you here and give you a little more help hearing that sound that was missed. Okay, so the answer for number 2 is Scottsville. Number 3, a distance we're looking for. It's pretty straightforward again, where in the passage she says, the man, the customer service representative, says, so your move will be about, and then he gives the full distance there. Let's hear where he says that.
12 Irving Court. Thank you. So your move will be about 6 kilometers across the city.
All right. Not too tricky there. Just have to hear the distance. You have to know that the word distance means that we're looking for how far one thing is from the other, and then catch how far it was from the man statement there. Okay, so another typical kind of section 1, part 1 listening exercise here. Let's move on to number 4. Okay, back to a statement from the woman who's speaking here. Again, she does speak fairly quickly, so you'll have to catch these numbers. What they're testing you on is up here, knowing what the words apartment size are looking for. You're looking for how large it is, or how, in this case, many bedrooms it has, and then being able to listen for that same information in the passage. Okay, so fairly basic stuff here with a part 1 passage, but here's where she says it as she's speaking.
I have a 2-bedroom apartment with some large furniture like a sofa.
Okay, so there it was. She says she has a 2-bedroom apartment with some large furniture like a sofa, and then she goes on to talk about how much she has. But we're looking for bedrooms as indicated in the question for number 4. So we have two. She has a 2-bedroom apartment, as she says. Okay, then we keep going down this customer inquiry that we have to fill out, and we get to number 5. Here it gets a little tougher. So she's listed some items that need to be moved. She talks about having a sofa, kitchen table, and then there are a couple of other things you need to notice. 2 of something, all right, and whatever comes after these large bookshelves here at the bottom of her list. And that gets a little more complicated to answer than the first 4 questions. So let's listen for those here. The first one, number 5, this comes when the woman says this.
A kitchen table, a couple dressers, and 2 beds.
Okay, now part of what makes this tough is that this came very quickly after the answer for number 4, and you would have to know what the word couple means. A couple is 2, and so that's where we're getting that as a kind of paraphrase for what we have in the question. Okay, so otherwise, the items that you see in the question, sofa, kitchen table, and 2, okay, that's listed in exactly the same way. Also, immediately after she says a couple dressers, she says 2 beds, and 2 beds is listed in the question. So 2 cannot be beds for number 5 because that answer choice is already there for you. It has to be dressers, and you have to recognize that a couple dressers is the same thing as saying 2 dressers. Okay, so for number 5, the answer is dressers. 6 then, just slightly more trickier. They get harder and harder as you go. So she's listed 3 large bookshelves. Then she goes into talking about how she has large chairs in her living room. What they're testing you on here is to catch that you were not fooled by everything you see in red on the screen, okay? Here she's talking about how she's thinking about selling these chairs before she moves, so she doesn't want them included in the quote that they provide for her move. She goes on, though, to list one more item, which is patio furniture. And this is where you get the answer for number 6, that the last item on her moving list is this patio furniture. So let's listen to where this came in the passage itself.
Well, I have several large chairs in my living room, but I'm thinking about selling them before my move, so I would prefer if you didn't include those items in your quote. The only other large item we have is our patio furniture.
So a little trickier there, because you have to listen, you have to recognize that she is not talking about moving these chairs. It's only her outdoor patio furniture. Also, the word patio and furniture are slightly more difficult to spell correctly than some of the other words that we've had before. So that also would make this answer a little bit tougher than the other ones. You'd have to correctly spell patio and furniture to get the answer correct for number 6. Hopefully you did very well and had an easy time finding the answers for questions 1 to 6 of the moving quote listening passage.